larga Donovan. La quiere por derecha Alchidor. Al área viene. Necesita por el arquero. ¡Gol!
We're going to have to cut off Andres Cantor there. That was the legendary call from Andres Cantor from the USA-Algeria game in the 2010 World Cup. And this is Rookies Roundup, episode 37. We are done with our nice 2-3 week vacation. We are finally back, and we've got a lot to talk about, so we're going to try and keep it as snappy as possible. I'm Jake Liker, your host, aka Rookie. It is currently Friday, June 27th. Here on the West Coast, live from Los Angeles. I've got Noah and Carl with me. I'll introduce them in a few seconds. Follow me on Twitter at Jake Liker. Follow the show on Twitter at Rookies Roundup. Follow me on Instagram, Jake_Liker. Like the show on Facebook first and foremost. It's Rookies Roundup. Very simple. I think I've got everything covered. Rapid fire. Carl, from Oregon, but he's in Minnesota now. So Carl, go.
I am currently in Minnesota. Carl Mogline here. Follow me on Twitter at Carl_PM. Listen to In the Crease with Carl Mogline. 50 State Sports Update should be coming back soon. Both of those have a Facebook page. And then College Football on Air is going to be coming back later in the year. So like all those. And don't forget to like National Sports on Facebook and follow it on Twitter at National Sports R, I believe is the current tag on that.
Fantastic. And now, Noah. He's from Chicago, but right now he is in Colombia. I don't know what city he's in. He's really hopping from day to day. Noah, what about you? How are you doing?
I'm in Cartagena right now, where it's 99 degrees. Self-promotion, you can follow me on Twitter at Noah Taborda. That's with a capital N and a capital T. If you don't know how to spell it, suck it up. Also, follow me on Facebook, Blake and Noah, LA to Chicago, or me and Jake's soccer show, Kicking It with Jake and Noah. And yeah, that's basically it.
Awesome. All right, we went through that really quickly. I'm glad we're doing well. I'm currently posting everything right now on social media because, that's how we get the word out. And we appreciate if you get the word out too. So if you share this on Facebook, if you tell your friends about it, we'd really appreciate it. One last thing. Most of our listeners aren't live. If you're listening right now, it's probably not live, and that's okay. Sometimes our shows are a little long. If you don't have that much time, that's all right. We keep track of timestamps when we begin each segment. We're going to be talking about the NBA draft, the World Cup. We're going to be talking one topic about baseball, and we're going to be talking about, of course, free agency. We'll have timestamps for when all of those begin. It'll be posted on our Facebook page, and you can fast forward to the beginning of that segment. Always looking out for our viewers here. And so, without further ado, the wait is over. Let the show begin. Finally back. It's nice to say that now. Rookies Roundup. Episode 37 begins with the NBA draft, and we'll start with the first pick of the NBA draft. Did Cleveland Cavaliers make the right choice in their selection of Andrew Wiggins, or should they have drafted somebody else? Should they have traded their pick to Philadelphia? Apparently they were very interested in Wiggins. Opinions, Carl, go.
I'm going to say, you know what? I think that Cleveland made the right choice. I think that Andrew Wiggins, he lost some stock this last year with Kansas because he wasn't the super LeBron that he was supposed to be, but that doesn't matter. He still is an outstanding player, and I think that Cleveland made a good pick, and I think they made the right pick, and trading the choice would have just, you know what, they need a superstar, and they need more superstars. And I think that's the way to get them, is to just, you know what, stay where you are and make your picks.
All right. Noah, what about you?
Well, let's start with this. First of all, there were three obvious selections, I think, a week ago. Then Embiid got injured. It got basically whittled down to two. And it was Wiggins, who I think has much higher upside than Jabari Parker. And I think most people agree with me on that. Or Jabari Parker, who is more NBA ready, will come in and I think have a quicker impact. And it's my personal pick for Rookie of the Year. However, I think Wiggins is the player they need to go with. He's a franchise changer, or he has the potential to do so. Teaming up with Kyrie Irving, that forms a potential, one of the best duos possibly in the future. as well as Dion Waiters, and of course Tristan Thompson. And now, while some people would say, look, they should have traded with the Sixers, got Joel Embiid, and the 10th pick. In the end, I think that while it could have been good, I don't think they wanted Embiid as much. I think Embiid was a much bigger wild card, and I don't think they wanted to take that risk, especially with Embiid's injury concerns. And most people don't know this, going back way past this current injury. He's had injury concerns for most of his collegiate career. So I think in the end, they made the safest decision, they made the best decision, and they went with the best available player.
Yeah, at the end of the day, sometimes you have to go with the best available player. I mean, for number one pick, for how stacked this draft was, I still feel like it could have worked out better for Cleveland. I mean, Embiid, they didn't really want to have to deal with the injury problems. Apparently, Jabari Parker was terrible in the workouts with Cleveland, and so was sort of left with Wiggins. What I kind of wish Cleveland had done, I feel like 2 is better than 1. Philadelphia had 2 top 10 picks. And Philadelphia really wanted Andrew Wiggins. I feel that as though if Cleveland, if they could have made a deal with Philadelphia, trade that number 1 pick for number 3 and number 10, I think that would have worked out much better for Cleveland and for Philadelphia. Because in the end, this team needs depth, I believe, and ask any Cleveland fan in the LeBron years. This team has always needed depth. In the NBA, you need depth. We saw it with the Heat in the finals. You need depth. And when you have 2 top 10 picks instead of 1, I will take 2 every single time, even if I'm giving up the number 1 pick. So
it's why they did it, though. It's not that, look, had they done that, they wouldn't have gotten Embiid. They would have gotten Embiid. That would have been their only option. And I really don't think they wanted to take Embiid with those injury risks, because everybody knows what's been happening with injured players. It was funny. In the NBA draft, they compared Embiid the best center since Greg Oden. And I think that just scares people. This guy has serious injury concerns. Oden's injury wasn't exactly the same. He got injured it was actually a little bit later, but Embiid has been his whole life, basically. I don't think they were willing to take that risk. And I think that if you're a Cavaliers fan, you know even better that you want somebody who you can rely on, not Andrew Bynum.
It's certainly a fair point. Bynum put out a good few years. I'm not saying Cleveland should have taken Embiid with that 3rd pick. So they wouldn't necessarily have to take Embiid. You had other options. I'd still take...
I mean, he's a point guard, though. They have a point guard and a shooting guard. They needed small forward or center. And I think those positions weren't really it's not when you want to take them.
Well, we'll see how it works out for Cleveland. The jury is still out on whether or not Anthony Bennett, another Canadian, will work out after he was last year's number 1 pick. So, we move on. Now we are the jury that's still out. On draft picks, who are the busts? Who went up pretty early that is not going to end up doing well? And who are the gems, late first-round picks, second-round picks even, that could end up making a difference in the long term? I'm going to start with my bust. As a Los Angeles Lakers fan, I was a little disappointed that we picked Julius Randle. Now, don't get me wrong, Randle is a fantastic player. However, size becomes a difference in the NBA. And in terms of big men, he would have one of the shortest wingspans in the league. No, you were saying that to me the other day. Would he have... What were you saying about his wingspan the other day?
I think it was the shortest. It would be the shortest in the NBA. Shorter than Paul Millsap's arms, which are exceptionally small.
No, that's a problem. He might be a great player. But we can't have a T-Rex-esque guy running around trying to save this team. I wish they had taken someone like Noah Vonleh. Even though his ceiling might not necessarily be as high, because I know we can count on him more for immediate impact, and there's less of a risk there. He still has a much longer wingspan. I believe it's 7'4" and a quarter or something insane like that. He'd be able to do a better job of grabbing boards. Randle succeeded in college. I'm worried about what he would do in the pros, and I wish that we had taken Vonleh We'll see how it turns out. But I think that Randall might just be a bust because of the not great wingspan. Noah, who is your bust?
Okay, so really quickly on Randall. First of all, this is a lot like Wiggins, Parker. If you want a guy who's going to come in and be immediate impact, it's Julius Randle. But a guy that has a much higher upside is it's got to be Noah Vonleh. So I think I agree with you. I think they should have gotten Vonleh there. That he fell that far, they should have jumped on him immediately. Okay, so to my bust. You know what? The draft was going. I guess what I expected. Eric Gordon. I mean, that's a surprise, but not really. And then we came to Nick Stauskas. So this is a Kings team that wasn't great last year, to say the least. They weren't, I think, as terrifyingly bad as they have been in recent years. But they still weren't where they wanted to get. They're getting better. Isaiah Thomas, of course. You have DeMarcus Cousins. However, they had one gigantic gaping hole, and that was power forward. Derek Williams is not a permanent solution. They get there, and voila, Noah Vonleh still sitting right there to be taken. They take Nick Stauskas, and he's my bust. He's my bust. I think Nick Stauskas is great, but I think on this team especially, I think he won't have as much control as he did in Michigan. He won't be able to drive to the basket as easily, and unfortunately for him, he's going to be competing with Ben McLemore as well, which doesn't make it any easier. I think just so many players on this team, I think it was the wrong time to take him. I think because of the current situation he's going to end up in, I think he will end up being a bust.
Yeah, Carl, you see...
Are you doing gems too, or busts first?
We're just doing busts for now. We're just doing busts for now. Carl, you seem frustrated because he was your bust.
My turn. Wonderful. Okay, that was my Nick Stauskas, who I was going to go with first, but I can quickly just change. I got another guy who I really don't like to pick up. Bruno, I keep forgetting. I have issues with pronouncing this name.
Caboclo.
And and my steal is too. Yeah, Caboclo. He's Brazilian, so apparently, you know what, the Raptors who picked him, we're just feeling a little bit in the World Cup spirit. But the problem is, and this is a quote I have, that basically he is 2 years away from being 2 years away from the NBA.
So he's 4 years away?
This is the guy they picked. Yes, he's 4 years. He's rough. He's a while away from being NBA ready. He's currently 18, but he was the 20th overall pick. You don't pick your 20th overall pick this year for a guy that will not be ready for you until maybe 2018. It's a huge. I don't know. I don't like this pick. If he turns out to be something great, but it's too unlikely. He has so much development left to do. I just don't see him panning out.
All right, interesting. Carl, let's stay with you. You had to go last for busts, so I'll let you go first for gems. Late first rounders or maybe second rounders.
See, and apparently I like picking guys who are with names that are hard to pronounce. Like, I'm just very, very good at picking names that are hard to pronounce. So he is related to someone known as a freak of the Greek.
I'll try.
I know you're very
Thanasis Antetokounmpo, brother of Giannis Antetokounmpo of the
Bucks. I gotta
Bucks.
say, seeing his brother live, basically he played in the D League last year. So we got an international player drafted out of the D League. The D League, represent. But this is a guy who he apparently. Okay, this is what I've heard about him. He's NBA ready on playing defense. The offense needs some work. But you know what? If you can play defense in this league, he was drafted by the Knicks. And I think that, you know what? If you can play defense, a lot of centers in this league, if you can play defense, you can do enough that you can hold a position down. So I like the pick. And Noah, what's your gem of this draft?
Well, I theoretically could go with Noah Vonleh because he dropped so far, and the Hornets got him in a great position. But let's go with, like, a real gem.
A real gem?
Yeah.
Isn't that fake man-made?
I'm tempted. I was going to go with Thanasis, but, Carl jumped on him before I could get to him.
Hey, it's fine.
So,
I apologize.
I'll go with somebody else. I'll go with the 39th pick in the draft. Actually, no. Jeremy Grant, no.
Don't do it. Okay, while you decide, I'll tell you mine. I'm gonna stick with Carl. I'm gonna stick with Carl's team, the New York Knicks. I think that the Knicks got one of the biggest steals of the draft by taking Cle Anthony early. Watching him play at Wichita State, yes, he's a little undersized, but his raw athleticism, he's a very raw player, and I think that his skills will translate nicely into the NBA. A fantastic addition for the New York Knicks. Great job to get that pick. The high-value pick, nice pick for the New York Knicks. So it looks like better times in New York. Noah, who's your...
Jake, if you don't mind me asking, does that mean, do you think the Knicks...
The Knicks what? Hello?
Oh, I was just wondering if you thought the Knicks were... They had a very good draft then.
Well, I mean,
You would say
that's true. They had a great...
especially for the location they were drafted.
Xavier player got drafted, and a Green Bay player got drafted, Alec Brown. All right, go. Noah, do you have your guy yet?
Okay. Yeah, I do. And you know what? I'm going to go, and I was originally going with Kyle Anderson for the Spurs, but I'm going to go with a guy who I actually love. My favorite pick by the Bulls, not named Doug McDermott because there's only two, Cameron Bairstow. So Bairstow, he was overlooked because he's not like an amazing athlete, and athleticism means a lot at this point. But his hype went down, of course, because of that. Because when you're in the gym, that's what they were doing. That's the NBA draft combine. But he's a very physical player. He provides a lot of depth up front, and and from what I heard, he's an extraordinary interior defender.
We are using Google Hangouts here, and when you're talking with somebody from another country, it's tough to communicate.
He's actually good at it, and you have Tony Parker teaching you, so that doesn't hurt.
All right, yeah, sorry about that. We sort of like again, when you're broadcasting from LA to Minnesota to Colombia, it's gonna happen. Hopefully, we can just get that resolved as much, or I can fill the blanks for you. But yeah, your pick was Bairstow for the Bulls. Out of New Mexico. Before we move on, I just want to give one shout out. I don't know if you guys heard about this story. Walter Tavares, a 7'2" center from Cape Verde, was drafted in the second round by the Atlanta Hawks. They were talking to Tavares, one of the ESPN guys. Guy never owned a pair of shoes growing up. He did not pick up a basketball until he was the age of 18. His wingspan is 7'8". A German tourist came in here, discovered him, and I don't remember exactly how the story went, but basically he was able to bring him back to Europe, and now he's succeeding in the Spanish league, which is the second best professional league in the world, according to ESPN, of course, behind the NBA. So congrats to Tavares as well. And one more thing, the NBA, a fantastic gesture to Isaiah Austin. A fantastic gesture from the NBA for Isaiah Austin. Very touching moment for all. And they talked about how the NBA last night on the ESPN broadcast does a great job with their sense of community. You see former NBA players staying with the league and remaining involved, whereas people like the NFL are suing the league now after they were former players. So one thing the NBA does well, maintaining that sense of community, and through kindness and gestures like this that really say a lot about the league's character as a whole. Again, another great move by Adam Silver's new NBA. It's fantastic, and we wish the best of luck to Isaiah Austin in his future endeavors. We know that it didn't work out here, but he's got a great attitude about it. So despite having my friend's disease, we hope that he will do well in other avenues, whichever he chooses to venture. Alright, last part about the NBA draft. Now, sometimes you hear a lot about trades in the draft, trading picks. Now, in the NFL, while we're comparing and contrasting the two leagues, if you're looking at the NFL, you'll see that if two teams decide to make a trade, draft picks, and the league approves it, it's in. like that. And now all of a sudden one team gets to have the 4th pick and the other gets their 2 later picks. In the NBA, it's the same thing, only the league doesn't answer trade calls until the next day. And so, for example, the Brooklyn Nets were able to trade into the draft, and they still couldn't make their own pick because the league hadn't approved it yet. So it was quote-unquote a proposed trade, and the Nets didn't get to pick their player. Do either of you guys remember who it was? And Carl, I think you're on mute. There you go. Hello. Are either of you there?
I'm here. I'm here.
No,
All right.
We're here. We're just not talking.
Ah, thank you.
Ask a question.
For who the Brooklyn Nets traded into the second round for?
No,
we don't.
Fantastic. Well, we'll use somebody else, for example.
Who'd they trade with again?
No, that's what we're trying to figure out. We'll think something. Okay, the Los Angeles Lakers were able to trade. Let's think of it this way: the Lakers traded with the Washington. The Lakers traded with the Washington Wizards for the 46th pick in the draft, the 16th pick in the second round. But the Lakers didn't get to use that pick. It was the Wizards who did. The Wizards selected a player for the Lakers, and with that pick, they selected Missouri point guard, who goes by the name of Jordan Clarkson. So, what do you guys?
Clarkson, or his name is Jordan Clarkson.
That's his nickname. He likes to be called Jordan Clarkson. His real name is actually Thanasis Antetokounmpo, but only one player could have Thanasis' name, and so he decided to pick a generic Jordan Clarkson name. So guys, what do you think about this trade rule? Do you think it's fine for the NBA to just wait a day to make sure it's fair? Or do you think that it's worth it to take less time and have the draft go through as it is so the team that traded can make the pick? Noah, you get to go first this time.
Okay, so let's just get this over. It's a horrible rule. I don't know why the rule exists at the current time. Look, why? Can somebody explain? Can even Adam Silver explain why the rule is in place? I mean, it's an approved trade, but that's almost like a dictatorship saying, you know what? We don't trust you guys to make a fair trade, so you're not going to do it. And I think that occasionally there are steals in trades. A team makes a bad trade, and I think you're taking that away from them, and I think that's kind of sucks, because if it's your team, you would like a bad trade to happen in favor of you. But I don't understand it. I think it would be quicker, smoother, more efficient. And Carl, you have beautiful teeth.
Wow.
I know.
That's lovely. Noah, also our dental correspondent. Noah, who are the best teeth in the NBA draft?
It's a tough question. You're going to have to get back to me on that.
All right, well, Dr. Taborda will go out there. He's going to dig through to see who's got the best pearly whites. Stick around later in the show. Who has the best teeth in the NBA? I would love to see what happens if we did this with the NHL draft. If you ask me, here's the thing. There's already enough of a lack of parity.
Hey, no, I didn't get to talk, Jake.
Yeah, I'm going to you.
Don't forgive me.
I'm the host. I determine the order here. Nobody's talking about dictatorship. This is my dictatorship here. You will get to go next. No one gets skipped here, though. We believe in all the children getting an equal opportunity.
Yes, but you went twice before I went once.
That was just the introduction to the topic. I'm going to speak now. The issue with this, I guess the claim about it, the waiting till the next day, I guess, is to make sure it's a fair trade, to really fully evaluate it. There's already enough of a lack of parity in the NBA. We don't need already great teams getting even better and already bad teams getting even worse. The simple truth is, all teams have the best interests in mind, I understand that the NBA needs to approve it, but it can't take that long to decide, huh? This is why we can't have nice things, guys. This is what happens if you try to use the Draw app. Carl, my network connection is experiencing difficulties. Check your connectivity. Thanks, Google. I'm still not switching to Bing. Bing Hangouts is a thing. I don't know. Carl.
Bing Hangout?
I don't know. Carl, you're back. Now you get to speak.
I think Hangouts is copyrighted, but okay. My opinion is, you know what we all said. This is a stupid rule. They should get rid of it. It's archaic and pointless. Yeah, that's all I have to say. Let's move on.
All right, we are moving on. That was our NBA draft coverage.
That was great.
Again, Noah, though, we can't completely finish it until you tell us who has the best teeth, so make sure you stay on that. At the awards section of the show, you're going to have to tell me who has the best teeth in the NBA
Are you
draft.
serious about this?
I'm serious. Carl was not drafted, sadly, so you can't pick him. He has fantastic teeth, though. That's great. Let's talk about the World Cup. Again, we're not going to go too in-depth. Noah and I started our own show. I think it's going to be called Kicking It with Jake and Noah. We've already started with that. We can't change it yet. So now, me and Carl have a show. Carl and Noah have a show, and now me and Noah have a show. We've got all three combos of two within this triple threat group, if you will.
Jake, do you and me have a show, though?
Yes, college football.
You and me don't have a show.
Yes, we do. College football on air. College football on air. It's coming back when college football starts. It'll be on air, hence the term college football on air.
Let's not debate that. Okay, hey.
So, we're not going to go too in-depth into it, but we are going to begin our coverage for the World Cup. Luis Suarez, I think. I mean, where else are we supposed to start here? Luis Suarez is very interesting. Carl, the last time you opened up Google Draw, I got network connectivity, so I'd rather you and Noah not play tic-tac-toe with the Draw app right now. I feel like this is turning into a Google Hangout commercial. I miss Skype. When you get back in America, we're only doing this on Skype. Luis Suarez bit another player. Apparently, he doesn't know what many 2-year-olds understand at this point. It was Chiellini, an Italian player, bit him on the shoulder or the neck. Is he a vampire? Is he Hannibal Lecter? I really don't know at this point. Clearly, it's not right here. FIFA has issued a 4-month suspension. Do you agree with the suspension? And if you don't, how long would it be and why? Carl, you get to go first.
You know what? I know that previously you had said you wanted to be longer on a previous show with Jake and Noah, but I'm fine with this, mainly because he's missing a portion of his league season as well. He's missing the rest of this thing. And also, you have to look at that. That was a 9-match game. That was a 9-match suspension from the Uruguayan national team, which means he can't play part of the next domestic tournament. I forget exactly what it is. Whatever. Copa America, I believe it was. He cannot play in the next domestic tournament part of that, too. So, the fact is, this is actually a pretty strong suspension. And, you know what? He won't be in soccer for the next 4 months. And I feel like that's completely reasonable, mainly because he's a repeat offender. This is the 3rd time, and he has to know that this is not acceptable in today's world, or really any world.
Yeah.
Any world.
Yeah. In any world. Noah and I appear to have some pretty hot takes on this one. We both felt pretty strongly. Noah, FIFA has given out the ruling. It is a 4-month suspension for Uruguayan star and Liverpool star as well, Luis Suarez. How do you feel about this, and do you think the suspension was appropriate?
Well, I think it's great, mainly because now Barcelona, if they try to buy him, will not have him for a while, and being around Madrid ban, I dislike Barcelona. But in terms of the ban, fair, definitely fair. Look, it's the 3rd time, so they were going to have to come down on him. he's going to be suspended 4 months, so up until like a little bit into October. So, I mean, I think that some people, you can ask maybe for more, but I think to ask for less is ridiculous, and I think it was a good amount. I like the amount they did it for, and I have no overall issues with it.
For the first time ever, it took 37 episodes, but we are finally praising FIFA. It took 37 episodes.
Well, that's the upset of the century.
Now just get the World Cup out of Qatar, please. I'm going to mention this until it's done. RerunTheVote.com.
Can we say this, Jake, though, that the first thing people should do before issuing that is actually tell them, look, if you don't get your stuff together, we're going to take it out, because I think you at least got to tell them that. Tell them, I think you got to at least issue a warning, because there hasn't even been a warning.
I don't know, man. If 1,200 people have already died, I think we've passed warning stage. But nonetheless, if you want to try and make a change, RerunTheVote.com, or maybe it's RerunTheVote.org. I haven't visited in a while. Takes 5 seconds to sign the petition. It'll make me happy. It'll make thousands, hundreds of thousands of people happy in the in that area. Just please, if not for the migrant workers or for me, for you, do a good deed today. But that's not the point.
Advertisement?
Well, someone has to be here. If we're going to praise FIFA, we have to counteract it. It doesn't work like that. Here's what I think about Luis Suarez. This is the third time he's bitten someone. He's also been fined, I think it was £50,000 for racist comments. He needs help. This isn't Meta World Peace elbowing someone in the head. This is juvenile biting people. People get in trouble with this. If you're a 3-year-old, you're a grown man on the world stage, and you've done this 3 times, 4 months was the bare minimum. If it was me, I would have handed out 6 months to a year, because this is ridiculous. This man is not mentally in the correct place. He needs help. He needs a therapist. He needs something. He needs a pacifier.
Wait, Jake, wait.
He needs he needs a pacifier.
No, but Jake, I'm saying something. You said you agree with this. You said FIFA finally did something right, and then you said they did it wrong.
Oh, you two said that FIFA finally did something right. I said that 4 months was the bare minimum. I could have asked. I'm glad that FIFA gave him 4 months. I would have
understand how much this is, right? Like 9 games is.
I agree. I agree.
They could theoretically go into qualifying for next World Cup.
I still think it should have been more. I'm sorry. There's no excuse if you're biting your opponents, and it's the 3rd time.
Although, I believe what was the quote? Now I'm going to go quote searching. Jeez.
Anyway, here, look. 3 times and the guy still hasn't learned his lesson. Get him a pacifier, get him a therapist, and get him a 6 to 12 month suspension stat.
Pacifier? Why would you get him a pacifier? Get him a Hannibal mask.
Yeah, I don't know how long Cannibal Suarez can last here. I'm done with this. There is no place for cannibalism. Forget to say no to racism. That and then say no to cannibalism. Both apply to Luis Suarez.
Say no to bestiality.
Okay.
Although, I gotta say, can I bring up something that actually affects this too? Chiellini, the man that Suarez bit, said this ban was excessive. I don't think that's true, mainly because he's a repeat offender, and obviously for a first-time offender, yeah, sure, that's excessive. I mean, this is not for somebody who did this for the first time, but he's a history of this, so therefore I think it's completely true. Completely fair.
Alright, moving on. Now, the USA is moving on. After finishing 2nd place in their group, yes, they lost to Germany, but Portugal was able to defeat Ghana. Ghana had to get 3 points in that game. They lost to Portugal 2-1. Portugal was just the first of 6 teams to win following a game in Manaus. The odds seem stacked against them. USA might have caught a big break, though, because there was a lot of drama going over at the Ghana camp. Now, Ghana soccer has been sort of in damage control for the past week or so. First, the British newspaper The Guardian went undercover with an interview with the president of the Football Association of Ghana, undercover as someone from an investment agency talking about fixing matches and getting referees on board, and they were in complete support of it. They were ready to have many rigged international games. It went on and on. So they are now in big trouble. Good investigative journalism from The Guardian. But then there was also a pay dispute issue. Sully Montari and Kevin Prince Boateng were suspended shortly before the match against Portugal. You see, Ghana's players said that they were complaining, threatening to boycott wages that were not paid for them at all, no money whatsoever, and this actually happened. A truck was sent through the streets of Brasilia containing $3 million in cash to pay the Ghana players before they faced off against Portugal so that they wouldn't boycott. However, two players, Sully Montari, Kevin Prince Boateng, both the star players, were actually sent home because Ghana's FA released a statement that Montari had suspended, quote, an unprovoked physical attack on an FA executive committee member. Montari is yet to comment. The statement read, quote, the Ghana Football Association has suspended Sully Ali Montari indefinitely from the Black Stars with immediate effect. The decision was taken in the wake of his unprovoked physical attack on an executive committee member of the GFA and a management member of the Black Stars, Mr. Moses Arma, on Tuesday, June 24, 2014, during a meeting. Montari's accreditation for the 2014 World Cup has been withdrawn with immediate effect. Boateng was suspended indefinitely because the FA said he hurled, quote, vulgar verbal insults aimed at the team's coach, James Appiah, during training. So tensions flared. We saw the French team go on strike in 2010, but this is ridiculous. You've got a truck full of cash racing through the capital of Brazil to get to the team just in time, and yet still two players were sent home, and Ghana lost. So here's my question. Should the FA sent these two players home, or should they have kept them around and helped their country a little more? Perhaps they could have beaten Portugal and moved on to the next round. Noah, we'll start with you.
Okay, so let's start with this. I think that, first of all, they put behavior over performance. I think that if you want to win, then you keep Montari and you keep Kevin Prince Boateng. I mean, Montari for me was playing the best out of anybody on this Ghana team. Obviously, that wasn't enough for them, and of course, they're not gonna. We don't know the extent of the physical attack, but obviously, if they're sending home one of their best players, it has to be something, and a physical attack, no matter what kind. Look, if we're going to come down hard on Suarez, who did it on the football field, where they already had a history, Chiellini and Suarez, then you have to come down just as hard as a guy attacking somebody off the field. In fact, you should come down even harder on somebody off the field. That's unacceptable person. I mean, he's not even playing against you. He's not even your opponent, theoretically. You just don't do that.
Now, here's the thing. Again, since we don't know the extent of the physical attack, it's tough to say if the punishment was appropriate. But here's what we do know. Sully Montari was actually been crowned as one of the nice guys of the World Cup because he had gone to small Brazilian villages during his free time and gave out money to poor families in the village on his free time. So, first of all, he was crowned as a good guy. We know that the Ghana Football Association, again, is corrupt and very sketchy in light of these recent allegations. Not allegations. I mean, they were undercover and they did admit on camera saying that they wanted to fix these matches. And the third thing we know is that the Ghana players were not paid. And they were frustrated. And these... Wait, no, hold on. I'm not justifying that. And that these statements are coming from the Ghana FA, so we don't know how much truth there is to that. With that said, Montari, if there is any truth to the fact that he had a physical altercation with someone that was unprovoked, yeah, he needs to go. We don't know what Boateng said. Ghana was depending on these players, and corruption seemed to get away, and behavior seemed to get away. I think both sides were in trouble.
Send him home, though? You wouldn't Send him home if he attacked him?
Montari needs to go home. Boateng, I don't know if...
Okay.
We don't know about what...
The thing is, you
We don't know
know.
what the
So
insults were said.
speculating and saying that
Boateng
maybe it
is
was, maybe it wasn't, is not helping you at all.
We're not saying maybe it was, maybe it wasn't. I'm saying that this is what the Ghana FA said, but we know that the Ghana FA is somewhat sketchy. They weren't paid. I mean, if you have to send $3 million in cash in a truck through the Brazilian capital just before a game so your players can play, clearly something's not working. And this country had put all their hope into their players. They were rationing electricity just to watch the games. They had purchased electricity from Ivory Coast, neighboring them 50 megawatts. That's how much this country cared about soccer. And yet this is how it ended. It's horrible. Carl, what do you think?
I think that the fact is that we don't need to... Speculating on this, I think the fact is that these players, I'm assuming almost all come from extremely poor backgrounds, knowing the Ghanaian economical situation. That can, I mean, some of them obviously are not. I'm assuming a lot of them are going to come from low. They're going to try to get any money they can. They're going to try to get as much. Especially, the fact is, as with the discipline, with the players that were disciplined, I do not like to speculate when teams discipline players behind closed doors. That's a personal thing I do. I don't speculate, and I agree with their decisions because I'm assuming they have info that I don't, I was making it. That's why I have no issues with these players being sent home, because I'm sure it was just. Because I don't think this football federation, I don't think they fixed the match, and I don't think they drove the match. So, there's my opinion, but I think it's time to get to a new subject.
I would just want to list my final opinion on this. Here, Noah, you can go first.
Let me just say this. Assuming is fine.
Wait, you still need a final opinion? Haven't we already given opinions?
No, saying that you want... Carl, saying that you trust them is fine. But there are also times that following blindly is not good.
I'm not saying I trust them, I'm just saying that
And they would throw the match, by the way.
But I'm saying
they would throw it if they wanted to, if they got paid the right amount of money.
But if you're going to throw a match, you're going to do different things about that's not the way to throw it.
Here's what I'm going to say.
I don't think they do that one.
Here's what I'm going to say. I don't want to take a definitive stance on this simply because we don't know what's going on. But knowing the state of the Ghana FA, I think that they're not getting enough heat at all for promising their players money and then not paying them and then having the gall to send them home. To be honest, I don't know how truthful their statements were about these players. And the home nation is rallied around them. This happens once every 4 years. So, you know what? If I have to take the side, I would say that the players should have stayed. We just don't know what happened yet, innocent until proven guilty, and I don't trust the Ghana FA.
But I'm sorry, we don't know what happened exactly. So But what makes you trust the players? I understand that it's sketchy, but Carl, to that point, is right. You can't
I said if I had to take a side. If I had to take a side. I'm not taking the side. If I was forced to, I would take the players' side. Just because...
But I'm saying if I had to take a side, then you are taking a side.
I don't have to take a side, and I'm not going to. I'm still undecided until I know more information.
I understand they're corrupt.
The thing is, you are saying if you had to.
I don't have to.
In no situation would you have to take a side.
I do not have to take a situation. That's what it is.
I understand they're corrupt. But let's throw the corrupting out the window. In this situation by itself, I think that you have to trust what they say because Carl's right. They may have information that we don't have, and unfortunately that's their only source. So to say that it's wrong or that you're going to take the player's side because you think it may be wrong, that's even more speculation.
I agree. That was just me speculating. I'm not going to take an official stance until we have more information, but a very...
It must be the official stance of everybody now. Everybody depends on you.
Alright, then I think...
Yeah, I think it's time to move on. A very interesting situation going on with the Ghana national team. There is some stuff that we need to improve. No matter how great this World Cup has been, there are still some areas in which we could improve. And I think this year, it's been... officiating, it's difficult, but instant replays really would help, wouldn't they? From the very first game when we saw Fred with that egregious flop, when what were the commentary? Taylor Twellman said...
By the way, the the head of referees said it was a penalty, so it wouldn't. But if you, we're going to get into this topic.
Yeah, we'll get into the topic. But Twellman, the color man, said, quote, no, and Ian Dark said never in a million years. And that was the very first game. We saw Mexico get robbed of 2 goals against Cameroon. We saw Bosnia-Herzegovina get... feels so bad for Bosnia-Herzegovina for the way that the referees sort of robbed them. Is it time for more instant replay? Or are we worried about breaking the flow of the game? Carl's frozen. No.
Here's what I think.
Oh, Carl.
For fouls, I don't think you... Okay.
Go, Carl.
Wait, no, I'm
Carl
talking.
gets to go.
I'm talking.
Carl gets to go.
I am talking. All right. I'm going. All right. Okay. On fouls,
Okay.
you know what? If you make refs more aware, sure, but the fact is never replay foul. I don't think you can ever have a replay on fouls. No other sport does it. And there's a reason. Their judgment calls every single time. For something like offsides, I think there's an argument. It's hard for me to pick a side, but I would say on goals that are ruled no because of offsides, then you can but not on all offsides calls, just on ones that go in that would have been a goal. That's my opinion.
Well said, Carl. Well said. Look,
That would bring us to Noah.
Yeah, well said. Let's start with this. Look, the threaded penalty, the head of referees said it was a penalty, so it would have stayed that way had there been replay. Carl is right. You can't call it on fouls. It's ridiculous. The flow of the game is so important, especially in soccer. You have sports like where it's long spells of possession like that. I think at that point, that's when it's very important. I think it's one of the few sports that has that. You look at basketball; they don't even have it. They don't even have long spells of possession. It's 24 seconds at best, and you don't have it in football either. So I think to put it into another sport like this is just ridiculous. It slows the game down too much. On offside on goals, I can understand it. Like Carl said, you want to make sure that's right, but if you slow the game down too much, then you're at risk of becoming the NFL, which has, 15 minutes of game time and just another
60 minutes of game
2
time.
hours. It was not 60 minutes.
The NFL has 60 minutes of game time. There are 4 15-minute quarters.
No.
Okay.
Oh, I see what you mean. Like when there's plays actually going. Okay, I see.
I want to add one thing. One more thing to our plan. One more thing. One.
Go.
All right. The one thing you also have to do is I say handballs on goals too. That I agree. That would be also handballs on goals. Things like that.
Alright, here's what I would say. I think
Now, no.
Here's what I want to say because I understand
Jake
that.
wants replay. Jake wants everything to be
No,
perfect.
I don't believe it or not. Not necessarily. I recognize, even though I'm a new-ish soccer fan, I recognize that there's something special about the sport, and it is the flow of the game. However, the World Cup and the game itself is special too, and you ruin that specialness, if you will, with tarnished calls and
Okay,
wrong
Jake,
calls.
soccer
Wait,
has survived the past
let me finish.
60-something years.
Just let me finish. So here's what I'm going to say.
You're not really ruining it.
On penalties, on a call for a penalty kick, you should that should be reviewed. If it's not a call, then you give him a free kick or something if it's the wrong call. But on a penalty, it's something so decisive, especially in World Cup games, that I think that it's worth to go over 60 seconds, take a review. Is it still a penalty or not? Fine, go ahead. And
Will we have a running clock during this period of time, or will it be stopped? If we have it running, will we add more time on? How much should be added on at the end because of this replay? This is my problem.
How much should be at this point in
There
time?
are endless amounts of questions that would have to be.
No, there's not endless. I can answer every single question you just said.
Okay, start off. Should we have a running clock during this period of time?
When there's a replay, the referees get 60 seconds, and that is it. 60 of those seconds is going to be added into stoppage time to the end of that half.
Oh, those 60 seconds. Okay, those 60
The clock will
seconds.
still be 60 seconds will be added to stoppage time. Okay, that's number one. Number two, if you're concerned that this is really going to break up the flow,
a whole other minute. That gives a whole other minute for that team to score also again.
okay,
So
what's
what is
more? Well, okay, what's important? What's more important for you? Overturning a call that could potentially change this entire game, or adding a minute at the end, or saying, I don't want to ruin the flow, even though that this is a turning point.
What if there's a penalty in the stoppage time? Then what are you going to do?
Same thing they do when there's injuries in stoppage time. They'll still add a little. They'll still go a little over.
How much extra time? Because you shouldn't add the exact same extra time because then it's extending. Jake, there's an endless amount of questions.
There's not an endless amount of questions. I've answered every single question you're saying. 60 seconds. You get a 60-second time limit. That's number one. There's okay. You don't have to accept my answers, but I've given you an answer to every single question. There's not an endless amount of questions here. That's one.
There is an endless amount. I'm not done.
No, hold on. Number two. If you're worried about reviewing it every single time, challenges. Even in college football, they'll do that. Both teams can get one challenge and there are certain calls that you can't challenge and stuff like that. Offside, I believe, would be a little more difficult because that breaks up the flow. I'd rather just start on penalty kicks and see how that works out.
That's true. Penalty kicks breaks up the flow much less than offsides. Because penalty kicks result in a set piece, which means that the ball was already stopped before.
But only offsides on goals, I said. Only offsides on goals where the play is already stopped.
But we don't know that if the goal happened because
the play is already stopped and it's a play where goals already happened.
But we don't know if the players have stopped yet. I see.
Well, then it would be an offsides kick anyway. It would have been a kick out anyway. So therefore, the play is stopped either way. On a foul call that you call it both either way, the play would not have been stopped if they don't call the foul. On the offsides, that was a goal. They would already be calling it.
Okay, there's that, and there's one more thing. Oh, red cards. A red card is a turning point. The other team should be.
What about plays that would have been a red card but weren't?
No, you can't review to see if it would be a red card.
But then, also, again, fouls are two judgment calls, especially with red cards, are very dependent.
A red card, it can turn the game. I understand that there's a purity of the game that you don't want to break up.
But that's one of those. It's like saying you should review when a manager is ejected in baseball.
No, that's completely different.
It's the exact same thing.
Really? Okay, in the NBA, do they review when they give a flagrant 2? Interject someone.
NBA's
flopping has become diving and flopping has become an epidemic. Look back to the 90s. Look back to the 90s when Brazil was playing. Someone threw a ball at the Brazilian guy who was about to have a corner kick. It lightly tapped him on the stomach, and then he fell over, and the other team got a red card. That was
What about second yellows? What about second yellows?
No, not for second yellows. Only for reds.
But then what if the yellow is bad and they lose a player on the play? Isn't that still a bad?
Because at some point you have to stop. At some point you have to draw the line. There's still purity that you want to uphold.
Jake, these are just Jake, we have given you about 10 minutes of the questions. But there are probably hours.
And I have successfully answered every single one of them.
Okay, Jake, Carl.
What do you guys think? Here, it's not just about me. What do you guys think about this?
We've already told you what we think. We think that maybe offside goals is an argument, but overall, we don't see that there should be that much more replay.
What about so penalties you don't want?
Although I do like,
please don't bring Ian Dark into this. Ian Dark had one good call, and then he had the USA Algeria, and then after that, he's just gone down.
Are you kidding?
Ian Dark is not good compared to most other.
Okay. As far as English broadcasts go, I'm sorry. I think Ian Dark is
English. If we're talking about English, yes, he's the best, but that's because English broadcasts aren't very good. To be fair.
So if you speak English, it can't be a good broadcast.
No, I'm saying English broadcast. I didn't say if you speak. Oh, now you're putting words in my mouth.
I'm asking you. I'm asking
I said
you.
Very blatantly. If it's right now, English broadcasts are not that good.
But the problem is, who are you going to find that's better? It's like saying...
I think it's a little bit of an unfair generalization, but I will admit to voluntarily listening to Univision.
I can name literally one right now, Univision.
Yes, I would call it an unfair generalization, but English is my first language. I've only taken Spanish for 3 years, and yet I willingly watched all the games on Univision. So, I want to call it an egregious generalization, but I can't because
Really?
yes,
Really?
Spanish broadcasts make the game
you watch
more
all of the
exciting.
games on Univision? All of them?
Yes, even the U.S. games. Guys, we do have to move on a little bit. Instant replays have always seemed to become a heated discussion here. I know we said we were going to
Almost as
take...
bad as Greg Schiano.
Okay, you guys talk about Greg Schiano these days more than I do.
No, I just bring it up to laugh at it.
Well, we were hoping for an hour-long show. We don't have all day. We could talk about the MLB and free agency a little later. It's a long summer. I think we should just stop the show here, you know? An hour-long show. It was good. We had a lot of interesting talks about it. Guys, what do you think? You want to stop it
Yep,
here?
let's hit to the awards. I say we hit the awards now.
Noah, do you approve of this?
Yes,
That's Carl still. Noah.
I know.
Noah's currently frozen right now.
Which
He,
means
he's
that's a
frozen.
yes.
It is
2-1
99
anyway.
degrees in Colombia, and yet he is frozen.
It's 2-1. Either way, even if you didn't vote. So
This is true. We will talk later. We will have another show, hopefully sometime Saturday night.
What?
No, we're thinking
we're
about just
skipping
stopping.
everything else and going straight to the awards.
We're having an hour-long show, and we'll pick off later on Saturday, tomorrow night, Sunday night, or Monday night, or whatever we can do it. But it will be rather soon. Does that work for you?
Yes, Jake.
Carl, I already heard your answer. Noah.
Yeah, but we still have 2-1 majority, so it doesn't matter.
We are going to take a quick commercial break then? I don't...
Wait, before the awards? No, how about not a commercial break, Jake?
No, because the
No,
awards must stay until the end. Until we get...
That is the end. It is the end, Jake. Jake,
We
you
don't
do the
know
awards
if it's the end. I want to know if we can actually be able to do a show later on this
now.
week.
I know Nova's schedule better than you do.
You know Noah's schedule.
Better than you do.
Really, where's Noah going tomorrow?
Tomorrow?
Yeah.
We actually talked about this earlier. Yeah. What's with the awkward head turn, Jake?
I was asking...
Jake,
it
let's
makes
move on.
sense.
We can move on and do the awards now.
Well, I guess Noah's no longer here with us. I think it's a sign from the Google people that it's time to wrap it up. Awards. MVP. Alicia Montano. She ran in the 800-meter race at the U.S. Track and Field Championships. She didn't win, but it's okay. She's 8 months pregnant, and she ran in the 800-meter race with a flower in her hair and a pink tracksuit. So good for you, Miss Montano. 8 months pregnant, and you run 800 meters in the U.S. Track and Field Championships. You do not give a damn. We need more people like her. Facepalm. Let's go to the Wall Street Journal. Oh, Noah's back. No, we've decided that we'll be able to do a show hopefully tomorrow, and we'll be able to continue tomorrow night or Sunday night, but we are ready to wrap up with awards right here. Does that work for you?
Yeah.
Alright. So, again, stick around. We'll be having a show sometime soon in the very near future. Continuing along with awards. Facepalm goes to the Wall Street Journal. Headline read, and just listen carefully. Senate 9, President 0. Obama pitches a shutout at the Supreme Court on recess appointments. Yes, Obama pitched a shutout, and yet the Senate scored 9 runs. President scored 0. Clearly, they're not big fans of baseball with the Wall Street Journal. Or maybe they're copy
You
editors.
have no issue with the fact that it says Senate and then Supreme Court, though?
Senate and then President. Look! They can do what they want to do. Maybe it meant to be President
The
9
entire
Senate.
thing is just...
We'll see. Sympathy. Russian goalkeeper Igor Akinfeev.
what?
This was sort of a sad story. Against South Korea, a scoreless game Russia was expected to win in the somewhere between the 70th and 80th minute. Easy kick sort of heads toward him, and it slips through his hands, and South Korea gets on the board. Russia would score later, but tied at 1. So he was already...
It hit his head, too.
It hit his head, so he had already become national disgrace. And then, you know what, if you mess up like that, I'm not going to really give you sympathy, because it's your own fault. But then something happens again to him, and this is the game against Algeria. 1-0. Russia's in the lead in the somewhere between the 60th and 70th minute. If they can hold on, they will advance. Instant replay show that some sort of green light, a laser likely, was shined in Akinfeev's face, in the middle of a set piece. The ball was sent in. Argentine got away from the laser, but maybe it's coincidence. Algeria scores the equalizer. It's tied at 1 and no one else would score. Algeria will advance. Algeria is going to play against Germany. Russia is sent home. Tough World Cup for Akinfeev. Or excellent use of lasers by one Algerian fan. Who knows? We're just a little over the hour mark. It's one of our shorter shows, but that's because we don't want to rush anything. We got MLB and free agency next time around, and whatever happens tomorrow, we'll be talking a little more World Cup. Next show, we'll be talking about bench clearing. It's becoming an epidemic in MLB. Simple things, a hard slide to second base, now everyone's rushing the field. And free agency, of course, but not your typical ESPN way. They can tell you where they think he'll go. We're going to tell you where should LeBron go, where should Melo go. And maybe we'll guess where he will go. Who knows? And much more on episode 38. But this has been episode 37. Again, thank you for listening. Share with everybody. Go back to the beginning. Self-promotion stuff. Do everything we sort of asked you to do. That'd be great. But especially tell your friends. We want to get the word out. Thank you so much for listening. Thanks for being patient with this vacation. We will have more for you guys next. Thank you to Carl in Minnesota. Thank you to Noah in Colombia. And thank you to myself, I guess. Thank you to you guys for listening. You guys make this show go around. Until next time, signing off for Noah Taborda and Carl Mogline, I'm Jake Leiker. Good night.